The Emmy Award-winning Batman the Animated Series changed superhero cartoons as we know them today, charging its way through pop culture with a massive mythology, a story that spanned 85 episodes, 2 feature films, and 1 video game. Yes, The Adventures of Batman and Robin for the Sega CD added several minutes of essentially bonus footage, a mini episode of the cartoon created exclusively for this game, dubbed by fans as the lost episode of BTAS. But for just as long as its existence, we the people have locked horns over and over again regarding whether the events of this game, and more importantly its cutscenes, work in continuity with the animated series. And if so, when would they occur? What is the proper moment to pause your latest Batman the Animated Series binge to plug in your Sega and watch the lost episode? Well, fear not, because today we're bringing back an old friend to figure it out, to answer once and for all. Will it canon? That is the question.
Master Dick, that must be quite a computer game.
It's not a game, Alfred. It's this all-new thing called the World Wide Web. You can use it to search up answers to Riddler's stupid riddles, watch old Baby Doll episodes as QuickTime files that take even this computer 20 minutes to download, and holy low prices! You can even order toys and have them shipped straight to your house using BigBadToyStore.
My word.
It's pretty cool. They've got this brand new set of noir-style Batman the Animated Series figures. Batman, Joker, and Mr. Freeze, all in black and white with cel-shaded paintwork. 12 inches tall with 30 points of articulation. There's only 1,000 of these in existence, so you gotta get them now before their stock becomes a wasteland.
Doesn't Mockridge own a club downtown called The Wasteland?
Okay, sure, Batman, but the point is that BigBadToyStore offers shipping on all items for just $4, no matter what you're ordering or how much of it. And they've got a ridiculous amount of stuff from other awesome franchises like Marvel, TMNT, Star Wars, Transformers, and plenty of video games like Halo, Street Fighter, Dark Souls, Mortal Kombat. Like, just go look at their website when you get a chance. It's crazy. There's much more of our stuff on there too. Like, you gotta go pre-order these Mondo, Bane, and Phantasm figures, Alfred. You know we've got plenty of room in this musty old place. Oh, Daniel Mockridge just posted an update that he's pre-ordering those from a different site for more money and less reliability.
Come on. Daniel Mockridge is walking into a trap.
So if you want to nab a couple new collectibles or fill your entire Batcave, use our BigBadToyStore link in the description or pinned comment below. It helps support the Watchtower Database too. Now hey, it looks like my Baby Doll episode finally finished downloading. Let's give it a watch.
No, I have other business tonight.
Yeah, okay. Hello, Database, and welcome back to another episode of Will It Canon? The show where we take a hyper-fixated look at a piece of superhero media to determine whether or not it fits into the continuity of adjacent superhero media. You know, kids, a lot has changed since your old Uncle Willie's been away. New set, new can, even a new robot body that I now inhabit after escaping the imprisonment of a computer program via futuristic technology and the power of love. But now I'm tanned, I'm rested, and I'm ready to give this old YouTube channel a wedgie again. Wait, what? Now, historically, I've taken you through the ins and outs of a movie or comic or what have you that over the years fans have argued either in favor of or in opposition to being canon to the DC animated universe, the multimedia giant that began in 1992 with Batman the Animated Series and more or less concluded in 2006 with Justice League Unlimited. But while there's absolutely nothing wrong with healthy debate over our favorite fictional Ubermenschen, my old programming often called for me to push a my way or the highway narrative, that once I'd come to my own conclusion, that was the correct answer. And if you disagreed, well then dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow. But always remember, in the grand scheme,
it doesn't matter.
Yes, we hired the Halo guy. No, that doesn't have anything to do with the DCAU, but that's okay.
I threw a rock at him.
Okay, sick, never mind. You are absolutely allowed to still enjoy the content we're looking at today, regardless of its DCAU canonicity. The happiness it may bring you, the laughs, good or bad, the pain it may inflict on your troubled psyche. No matter what our work on this show may point to, it's always important to keep in mind this is all made up. These are superhero cartoons. It doesn't matter. But that being said, we can still try our darndest to figure out whether or not the DCAU canon will accept The Adventures of Batman and Robin for... We got sound effects now. Released in July of 1995, this game included hand-drawn animated cutscenes produced by Tokyo Movie Shinsha, or TMS for short, a Japanese animation studio that had previously worked on several notably well-animated BTAS episodes, such as Feet of Clay Part 2, Two-Face Part 1, and The Demon's Quest, but also went on to animate DCAU classics like World's Finest, Over the Edge, and the feature film Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. Like, fucking space lasers, this is cool as shit! Referring to these combined 17-ish minutes of video game cutscenes as the lost episode is a bit hyperbolic, because it was never, like, actually lost.
Last week, a never-before-seen episode of SpongeBob SquarePants was discovered under a desk at Nickelodeon Studios.
Yeah, nothing like that. It was always available. It's just obscure to the point that not a lot of casual DCAU fans may know about it, because it's tucked inside a video game, and WB and DC have never released this in HD, or even standard D. So, side note, don't give me grief about the image quality. We're working with the best we can. We're stuck with whatever amount of bits this is or isn't. Now, to clarify, this is one of actually 4 different video games released around the same time that all share the title The Adventures of Batman and Robin. December 1994 saw the first of the bunch for the Super Nintendo, a side-scroller where every level is loosely based on a BTAS episode. Then came the version for Sega Game Gear, a Game Boy competitor, another side-scroller where you play as Batman and fight villains with basically infinite batarangs. Then came this game for the Sega CD, which is a physical accessory for the Sega Genesis, apparently. It's not its own console. Did you know that? I'm from the future, I didn't know that. And lastly, the one for regular old Sega Genesis without port and starboard attachments, where you try to stop Mr. Freeze from, get this, freezing all of Gotham. How original, Mr. Freeze! Bye-bye. But none of those other versions had any noteworthy narrative of any kind. Among the other consoles, there was no new animation beyond statuesque Batman and Robin with obligatory dialogue, and thus none of them ever come up in the same conversation. Unless I'm the one leading the conversation, but shush your mouth. We're gonna break this thing down on multiple levels, both external and internal, to really get a grasp of how and why it should be considered canon or not canon to the DC animated universe. Now, you may think, because we got good old TMS on the animation, that the production of the cutscenes was handled just like a normal episode. But it goes much deeper than that. So to really get the full picture of whether or not this thing will fit in the can, we must first ask, while the other 3 consoles games were created entirely through their respective developers, Sega partner Clockwork Tortoise, a short-lived American video game studio, joined forces with BTAS's actual production crew for the Sega CD game. The animated segments were full-on written, directed, storyboarded, the works by the WB animation team working on Batman the Animated Series. It's true. In fact, this was technically created as the final, episode of the cartoon. BTAS ran for 85 episodes, and the segments from this video game were produced under the working title Mystery 86. Ooh. This game was one of the first Sega CD titles that actually followed a story, including voice actors' performances, and the animated series cast all returned to lend their talents, including Kevin Conroy as Batman, Lauren Lester as Robin, Bob Hastings as Commissioner Gordon, Robert Costanzo as Detective Bullock, and of course, a rogues gallery of Mark Hamill, Arlene Sorkin, John Glover, Diane Pershing, John Vernon, and Ron Perlman. A good example of what people mean when they call this specific thing lost is that, well, Mark Hamill didn't even see it until 2018, stating that he remembered recording for it, but never watched it because he never owned a Sega game console. Old Skywalker really never did get those power converters, did he? The only major component it seems was not managed by the expected BTAS crew was that of the soundtrack. Due to a lower post-production budget, instead of the usual suspects, we got music by video game composer Burke Treichman, and although he's certainly well acclaimed, he won a Best Musical Score award in 1994 for the computer game The Horde, which I've never heard of, sorry Burke Treichman. What we get here sounds nothing like Batman the Animated Series. The sound effects were also done on Sega's end in Japan because Warner Brothers wasn't even contractually allowed to do them. That's why we get Batman running around and it sounds like this. Or every punch sounding like it comes from an early internet flash game, or Riddler's looping cane twirl. The animation, as I've mentioned, was also extremely reduced in resolution to allow for the playback abilities, or lack thereof, of the Sega CD's processor, cutting back from the show's normal 24 frames a second down to just 15. And while the actual cells were drawn and produced as expected, the WB crew didn't get a chance to do any spot checking or editing like they normally would, leaving us with occasional glaring weird errors like Batman's neck being exposed when he grimaces here, or perhaps the most obvious and infamous of these, pantsless poison ivy.
She's just fully like, here's my butt.
But those questionable aspects aside, this puppy was essentially a regular old Batman episode from the ground up, just with the story divided by sequences of you, the player, awkwardly trying to drive the Batmobile down an impossibly pixelated Gotham City street. Electronic Gaming Monthly even summarized the game as a CD full of cartoon episodes with a so-so driving game included to break up the animated sequences. The folks we normally associate with "this thing is canon because they made it" are, for the most part, all here and doing exactly what they'd be doing for a regular episode. But what actually happens in those cutscenes and the game as a whole? And does anything in here screw with established DCAU continuity? Look, we're gonna get real nitpicky nerdy here.
If you think I've been bad news before,
The BTAS Lost episode begins with the classic image of the Dark Knight standing moodily on top of a tall structure in shadow. Why and how his cape is blowing in the wind inside the Batcave? I don't know. There's no wind in the Batcave. Not canon! Don't worry about it. It looks cool. Shut up and eat your Cookie Crisp, 1995 child. An emergency downtown sends Batman off in the Batmobile as we enter the first stage of actual gameplay, where you cruise the city streets of Gotham and try your damnedest to not run into civilians.
None of these people are signaling. Move out of my way, I'm Batman! Killing all the civilians. I don't know how to drive better than this. I already hate this game.
Lily and Violet must be stopped, it says, as you chase down Poison Ivy's henchwomen who toss pumpkin bombs out the back of their cars, as you yourself shoot endless, missiles? Now, if this feels weird to you, remember that this Batmobile has been shown to have an assortment of weaponry at its disposal when young Sherman and Roberta are
trying every possible combination.
In everybody's favorite, I've got Batman in my basement. While we never see Batman use, any of it in the actual show, it's there. The BTAS Batmobile has guns. I don't know, do with that information what you will.
Kill these women. How many missiles does it take, man? Oh, I got one of them.
We transition into our next cutscene, where Batman ties up Lily and Violet, the same characters from the episode Eternal Youth. That text on screen earlier did spell Lily's name with 2 L's, unlike the credits from the cartoon, but that may be too nitpicky even for this show. No? Well, there weren't multiple Riddlers in this episode, so typos are excusable. Poison Ivy tosses a lumpy root-looking thing in Batman's general direction, which dramatically transforms into a big clayface tree? Tree face? Root face. I'm going with Root Face. If anything's canon here, it's that name. You must now all call him Root Face forever. Batman fights Root Face and winds up Fantasia-ing the thing to death with an axe. No joke, this shot is a direct homage to Mickey murdering the fuck out of that broom. Poison Ivy chucks out even bigger pumpkin bombs as you tail her van through Gotham, again endangering the lives of hundreds of citizens with your casual missile-ing. I don't know how this many 6-foot gourds fit inside this one van, but they do, and they suck. She then resorts to somehow manifesting full-grown trees in your path, which I guess works as long as she's, dumping buckets of
the enzyme.
Oh, a tree! Ah! Wow, what the f***? Oh my god!
Luckily, these don't explode. You just have to be good enough at driving to not crash into relentless, unmoving foliage.
I am not really great at avoiding relentless, unmoving foliage.
You can also shoot missiles at the trees if you wish, so thanks, Batman. Good job saving the planet.
I won't have Wayne Enterprises involved in an operation that destroys a rainforest.
Eventually, Ivy crashes and is pantslessly apprehended by the police, at which time Batman is informed that Commissioner Gordon and Robin have been kidnapped.
While our dear Dark Knight was chasing me, two of his closest allies were being abducted.
Cool, glad I was busy with trees. But bringing in Robin and seeing Bullock as in his usual detective garb, we can easily deduce this would be taking place in the present day of BTAS stories. However, the show's original air dates were all sorts of out of order in terms of a chronological timeline, so we'll take what we can get as we go through the game and put the puzzle pieces together when we've got them all. At the very least, we're definitely still inside the BTAS era before any radical redesigns or Robin quits.
Don't look so glum, Batman. It's all part of the game.
Batman zooms out of the crime scene and flips through various suspects before landing on the Riddler, whose previous animated stories all dealt with some kind of game. Well, all except his third and final focus episode, Riddler's Reform *Be Damned, where notably he burned his costume and gave up the quest for Batman's demise, having arrogantly believed he'd killed him. So for Riddler to appear here, BTAS look and all, our best guess would be for this game to now likely be happening before that final Riddler episode. Longtime viewers of this channel may recall that Riddler's Reform actually happened simultaneously with two other BTAS episodes, Shadow of the Bat and Make 'em Laugh, due to overlapping continuity via this newspaper and Riddler's TV commercial. We coined this as Batman's Big Week a while ago, and I love it so much. It's the Mewtwo bursts out of the Team Rocket HQ continuity overlap of the DCAU. So we're beginning to narrow down the surrounding animated series stories, now even with the understanding that we're in a pre-Batgirl world.
I guess the party started without me.
We weave through a fleet of question mark trucks and take on an assortment of explosive toys, including a literal car that's a bomb.
Hey, this car's a bomb. What in the world am I looking at? Is this a man? Oh, there's helicopters. They fly now.
Then Batman arrives at Riddler's hideout, where a virtual reality headset gets plopped down on his bat cranium, identical to the one seen in What is Reality. So if Riddler's already got that tech, we're for sure between Riddler episodes 2 and 3. Or this is in Batman Forever continuity, but I don't think that's right.
As you can see, I've added something new.
P.S. Batman gave zero fucks about this toy store. He didn't need to crash the Bluesmobile through all this stuff, but he did anyway. Batman hates children, also canon. As Batman falls into an endless digital pit, we pop into the next bit of gameplay, now inside a video game.
I've already run into something! Fuck this game! Oh my god, get the hell out of the way! No!
We're forced to play an oversized game of tic-tac-toe, or at least avoid and blow up a bunch of hugs and kisses, which does give me a wee bit of Superman 64 PTSD, but that's not what this video is about. Is it? Then it's backgammon, but evil. Then chess, except it's evil.
An evil petting zoo.
Then a giant Riddler head with smaller Riddler heads floating around it like a Mario Kart triple green turtle shell.
Oh, please. Oh, please.
Please. I need it to be different now.
What the actual f*** is going on? I hate this fucking game!
Having defeated the VR game, Batman yanks off the headset and punches Riddler into the malfunctioning computer, killing him? Like, there's precedence. I have no reason to believe Batman didn't just cook Riddler's brain in his skull. But no, he makes the requisite so we know he's okay. Commissioner Gordon is saved, and it's on to abandoned Gotham City amusement park number 15, where Batman forgets how to read and finds himself face to face with Harley Quinn, giving us yet another timeline clue. The sheer fact that she's Harley Quinn, the supervillain, means this must be after her mad love origin. Batman takes off after Harley in what would presumably cut to more car chase gameplay, but instead Harley just randomly loses control and crashes into Joker's funhouse, where, you did guess it this time, the Joker appears.
I'm delighted to see you've made it this far, but then I knew those other losers couldn't put you out of action.
The real next part of the game is set up to be evading and destroying tiny combustible RC cars with little Dumbo-looking guys inside. But the X must be kicking in because somehow the amusement park transforms into a safari-themed racetrack, where you avoid giant saw blades and other Indiana Jones-style booby traps, including claustrophobia-inducing Joker-lipped zoo animals.
An evil petting zoo?
You always do that! This is impossible. You fuck up once, you fuck up forever. What is the point of the ramp if I'm just gonna hit a different fucking rhino?
Multiple laps of this with exponentially increasing Animal Kingdom chaos, and we're back to the animated sequences, where a stray little bomb boy blows up Joker's funhouse. Wait, didn't Harley crash in there? Did she just die too? Does everyone die in this game? Batman saves Robin.
Draw that man in a chicken suit.
And Joker turns Batman's shoulder blade into jelly. Dude's been getting rocked in this game. Batman's big week? Nah, Batman's big day. Joker goes pocket sand, but it turns out that Clown vs. Ninja has an obvious winner as usual, and Batman and Robin race off in the Batwing to find the final boss.
The guy's been a thorn in your side for some time.
Thorne's wanted to take us out of action for years,
says Batman, which isn't too helpful, but we know from our own prior detective work that Batman the Animated Series happens across the DCAU's 1992 to 1997, so we can assume that we're at least plural years deep past some of the earliest occurring episodes. Thorne's ship tries to shoot the Batwing out of the sky with various machine guns, missiles, and wait, is this guy not wearing pants either? Oh, thank goodness.
He wore the brown pants.
The dynamic duo burst into the ship's bridge, martial arts masters ready to take on a pudgy guy in a business suit, but
Thorne's had no part in this. He's been out of town for weeks.
And the game's true villainous mastermind is revealed.
Clayface.
Which is totally spoiled by the cover of the game. Wait, the Bat-Wing? Since when do you play as the... Oh, right now, apparently, in the final level.
It had to be inverted controls. Up is down, down is up. That's so funny!
First you play 90s Flappy Bird with the bridge, then you gotta pursue Clayface and his getaway chopper. Every bad guy's got one. But don't fret, the Batwing also has infinite missiles.
Die, Clayface, die! I'm Batman and I wish to kill Clayface as always. The people of Gotham City just watching Batman fly into the bridge over and over again.
As we transition into the ending cutscene, Batman and Robin blow up the Claycopter and send Clayface hurtling into the murky waters below, ending the game. But he'll be fine, right? He landed in water. That means, oh no, he is not okay. Wow, everybody does die in this. But hang on, surely Clayface's death scene doesn't work in BTAS continuity. He already dies like this in the animated series. Well, please do call me Shirley, because that lady was a rock star. And hey, we're working with innocent until proven guilty. We want to explore every possible canonifying avenue. Plus, this is DC Comics. Resurrections are like death and taxes. Just taxes? Resurrection and tax? I don't know, you get it. But even so, there's a potential workaround. And when I say potential, it's because this is where things start to get a little tricksy.
Now, the real game begins.
It's time to announce the winner of our latest giveaway, which is this person right here. Congratulations! We've replied to your original comment with details, and make sure it's really us, checkmark and all. Our next giveaway is this stuff, and all you have to do to win is leave a comment below with something you would like to see us cover on Will It Canon. A movie, a TV show, a comic, whatever. For example, once we hit 200 Patreon supporters, we'll do an episode about whether or not Teen Titans and The Batman exist in the same universe. We're getting close, but we need your help. Starts as low as $1. And if you want to just toss us a quick couple bucks, check out the new and improved Will It Canon merch. Stuff with the old logo is on super sale right now and will be removed from the store at the end of this month. So go get one, and this new Pride shirt, and whatever else you think looks cool. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get back to the video. Clayface appeared 4 times across Batman the Animated Series and the new Batman Adventures. Feet of Clay, Mudslide, Holiday Nights, and Growing Pains. Feet of Clay was the origin episode, and Mudslide saw him fall off a cliff into the ocean, where he dissolved and seemingly died. When we see him again in Holiday Nights, his reappearance is unexplained, until Growing Pains, when we learn his dissolved clay chunks floated towards some factory and interacted with whatever Simpsons power plant liquid this is, allowing him to eventually regenerate. He's got a pretty straightforward character timeline. But now with this Sega CD game, we've got an extra large hole in our Clayface donut. He's back as the big twist-ending antagonist, and he dies almost the exact same way as in Mudslide. It's funny to note how each villain's defeat in this game basically brings them back to their BTAS status quo. Or BTAS quo. Pretend I didn't say that. Joker, Harley, and Ivy are arrested and presumably taken to Arkham as always. Riddler's coma from what is reality is essentially reproduced here. And now Clayface falls into a big body of water and bursts into little brown bits. If I had a nickel for every time that's happened, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? But how does this fit into Clayface's story? Or can it even?
Oh, which come first, the chicken or the egg?
There are basically 2 schools of thought. Either the Growing Pains flashback is referring to what was left of him following Mudslide, or following this game. And they can coexist. Think about it this way. Say Clayface falls into the water in Mudslide, bubbles into silt, then somehow off-screen regains his form and comes back for this video game. All so that he can just die the same way again, but still. Then the chunks we see in Growing Pains are from his defeat in the Sega CD thing. It's sort of a stretch, but not impossible, as he's come back from the dead before. The end of Feet of Clay had him fake his own death, and while in Mudslide he was losing his integrity,
I wasn't aware that he ever had any to begin with.
He could be faking it again. He's an actor after all.
Acting! Thank you!
But I think it's probably more likely that we're the other way around here. In that Growing Pains scene, we're told
he couldn't hold his form anymore.
Which seems to be a direct continuation of Mudslide, the entire episode about him not being able to hold his form anymore. Plus, I really doubt that Growing Pains writer Bob Goodman had his priorities set on purposely calling back to a random video game released by the company that invented Sonic the Hedgehog.
You've got mail.
Oh, yeah, nope, he's never even seen this. So I feel like nothing else can happen with Clayface between Mudslide and Growing Pains. Therefore, the Sega CD stuff has to happen before Mudslide. This actually works out rather well. Clayface escapes at the end of his origin story, then reappears for the video game cutscenes where he's submerged in the harbor and falls apart. Then the next time we see him, in Mudslide, he's having a hard time staying solid. Could be because of that run-in with whatever pollutants are hanging around off Gotham's shores. Joker had a big garbage taco floating around once. Who knows how much of the water is water? Then he falls into the ocean again, dissolves real bad this time, and it takes mystery brown liquid to revive him for Growing Pains. Not perfect, but not bad neither, if I do say so myself. And truthfully, there's not much left to quibble over. So, I think it's time. What do you say we pop the lid off this thing and bring it home? You know, the most unrealistic thing about this game might just be how many other cars you see on the street every level. There were never this many people out and about in the show, not canon! The Adventures of Batman and Robin for Sega CD is a bit of a roller coaster. From a behind-the-scenes standpoint, it seems the production crew at least strived for this game to be taking place in the same world. All the returning cast members, for one. Can you imagine if we just got knockoff randos impersonating Mark Hamill and Ron Perlman and everybody else? Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, tons of folks whose names you'd see in the BTAS credits had their hands directly inside this thing. Even having it be called Mystery 86 in the books is worth something. The tail end of production after its 85 Fox Kids siblings. And while the Lost Episodes plot isn't groundbreaking by any means, it does give us something special. Pretty much the only time in BTAS where multiple rogues team up against Batman in the same story. Almost got him? Separate tales told around a card table. Trial? Everybody's just sitting there on the jury most of the time. The Sega CD Adventures of Batman and Robin video game?
Welcome to Supervillain Team Up.
While the gameplay is fun enough, albeit a tad janky, it doesn't add any complications. All it really does is drop in interactive segments of Batman spamming missiles forever that explain how characters get from point A to point B. Without them, you'll get a lot of, there goes the bad guy, fade to black. Oh, Batman won, I guess. So they complete the experience.
I hate this game.
Though overall, it just hurts my eyes. Then again, so did every episode animated by Acom. And although the gameplay extends the total length by roughly 3 times, depending on how good or bad you are at shooting cars with your bat guns, the whole thing only takes you around an hour to complete. A breeze by today's gaming standards. Imagine if, like, Alien Isolation was only 50 minutes long. Okay, that'd actually piss me off. Otherwise, you've got a wonderfully animated, solid little episode of the cartoon that you'd never have gotten to see. One which isn't held back by the censorship limitations of television broadcast. This thing's got everything from Root Face's juices splattering all over the bank, to Riddler getting electrocuted as to Clayface with a Gatling gun. Anything against its canonicity, however, mostly comes in the form of how this is technically tie-in material, which, like its comic book cousins, is almost never considered straight-up canon by the DCAU producers.
He's a loose cannon, Commissioner.
Sure, this game came out during a time when the DCAU was solely BTAS, but this is not one-for-one the animated series. It's sort of the equivalent of, like, the Shrek in the Swamp karaoke dance party, or theme park rides that kind of continue the plot of a movie but kind of don't. Stuff that is intended to be part of the same world for which it's marketed, but doesn't have to be, and could be overwritten by later stories at any time.
And it feels like that.
Writing the story for the game, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm would have had no reason not to adhere to what had come before on the show, but future episodes of the DCAU would also have no reason to care about the events of the Sega CD game. Still, it doesn't have to be molded too much to fit into canon with Batman the Animated Series. As far as a timeline placement goes, there's those few episodes I mentioned along the way that it's gotta be between, and if we refer back to our findings on the in-universe timeline of BTAS from past Watchtower Database videos, we've already managed to narrow down quite a few of these. Batman's years line regarding Rupert Thorne starts us off in the DCAU's 1994 at minimum, but we're also obviously after Riddler's origin episode, which we've placed in 1994 as well. On the other end of things, we've also got Mudslide way at the closure of the BTAS era, sometime in the December 96 to January 97 area. Not only does that confirm my Clayface timeline suspicions even more so, it leaves us with a roughly 2 to 3 year gap during which the game could occur. I hear maybe two of you out there saying, but what about House and Garden? That's the end of Poison Ivy's BTAS journey, so since she's in the game, it must be before that episode, right? Well, thank you for your input, two people, but unfortunately for that theory, she does come back in the episode Lockup. So Poison Ivy being here in general doesn't mean much. It means she's potentially a plant clone in this game, we've been over this, I digress. However, because of that whole Batman's Big Week event overlapping Riddler's cutoff with Batgirl's debut, and because we have deduced in the past that Batgirl likely hits the scene in 1995 or 96, I'm gonna go ahead and put my money on the lost episode happening before House and Garden after all, rather than trying to cram all of this into a couple weeks' time at the very end of BTAS. Either way is technically accurate, but this just feels better to me. So that's now a maximum of November 1995 when Ivy's released from Arkham Rehabilitated, leaving us with the Sega CD game, were it to canon, likely happening sometime between the DCAU's 1994 and November 1995. Oh, hey James. Hey, Willie, my dad fell asleep like half this video ago. Can you wrap it up? Oh, yeah, no, I've almost got him. Sweet. Thank you. I like the mustache. I see you've copied my hair. Look, just know that this Sega CD game, were it to find itself among your BTAS binge, should slot in nicely directly before Shadow of the Bat, which, in the order they aired, and how you'll find them streaming, would be right after Fire from Olympus, the Maxi Zeus episode. That's not really anywhere close to how the actual chronology goes, but until the time comes when we have a complete Batman the Animated Series timeline for you, it's the best I can offer. At the very least, just watch it before Mudslide so that Clayface's identical water deaths are in the right order.
I guess if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself.
And so, the adventures of Batman and Robin for Sega CD. Will it canon?
Canon!
Holy shit, is this the first time we've successfully put something in the can?
Ow!
Oh. Well, there you have it. The Adventures of Batman and Robin for the Sega CD will canon to the DC animated universe. Now, again, don't make me tap the sign.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, they can read. If you, for some reason, hate this game or think it's stupid to include in the DCAU, or you agree that it's more Shrek karaoke level than anything else, that's your prerogative. I mean, that is what... Go ahead.
Hard canon
is for. Ultimately, it's not up to the Watchtower Database, it's up to you. And if me babbling about a 30-year-old Sega game for the last half hour has helped ease your mind on the subject, then my work here is done. Thank you so much for watching, remember to tip your butlers, and I'll see you next time when I do the entire episode on fire. Good night, everybody.
Game over. God damn it, man.